another stream. You are going to have to bear with me. You will hear it. I have got the fan on. We're still battling heat in the UK. Although the heat's not as bad as it has been, we are still sort of going through some quite warm temperatures. And I still feel quite warm enough that, you know what, I do need to have the fan on. I don't know what the temperature is right now. I don't even know it. Oh, we're 17 degrees right now, according to my computer. So a little bit cooler, but it still feels quite warm inside my flat. And I have been away over the weekend, so the windows have not been opened, and yeah, it's quite warm still. So welcome back to another stream. So about a week and a half ago to maybe 2 weeks ago, I wanted to talk about in the stream, but there was also another topic that I wanted to talk about in that stream, and then we kind of ended up just talking about that other topic, and we never got on to this topic. And the topic that I wanted to talk about is the mobile DJing versus the club DJing. And I might have even maybe titled this completely wrong, because I don't even know if I would have even really have gone under the umbrella as a club I mean, I guess it kind of go under the umbrella as a club DJ. However, I guess I was kind of more like an events DJ, rave DJ, whatever you want to call it. Now, rave music has been a massive part of my life for as long as I can remember. I've always been into rave music, I've always been into dance music, I've always had some form of interest in, you know, electronic dance music, like growing up in the early days into house music, 90s dance, sort of like noughties funky house, then finding love through my dad for things like hard house and tidy tracks, and obviously like, you know, trance as well. That was a big thing. And then the love for Clubland, and then discovering sort of like the donk with sort of like the Blackout Crew and the likes of Alex K and stuff, and then just kind of moving on to finding love for like the HDID, the happy hardcore, the UK hardcore, before then discovering a whole range of other different genres of music that have been a mass part of my life for years. When I got into DJing, when I took DJing seriously and it led to DJ during lockdown, I played rave music. I mixed UK hardcore, I mixed bounce music, mixed house music, did trance, you know, played all the rave genres, essentially. That was kind of what I did. And then when we came out of the lockdown and things opened back up again, I initially just started getting, you know, do you want to come and DJ at our event? Do you want to come and play at our rave? And I became a rave DJ. And I've been across the UK and I've played a whole host of small events, big events. I've had quite a cool kind of career in the rave scene, to be honest with you. I've done things that I never thought I'd do. I've gone to towns that if it hadn't been for the fact that I was playing a set there that night, I wouldn't have gone to that town, you know. I've had some amazing trips. I've had some amazing memories. Going up to Scotland is one that I'll always sort of forever cherish. And, you know, going across to Scunthorpe and Leeds and Manchester and Leicester and all the places, you know, Sheffield, that I've gone and played events at, Scarborough Bridge. Always been an absolutely phenomenal, massive part of my life doing that, and I really enjoyed and valued the time that I did doing that. And then we fast forward to last year, and my bookings. So 2024, I had one of the most best music years that I've ever had in my whole career of like you know, from the MC days all the way into the DJ days. We were just absolutely, it was events all the time. I was going somewhere like most weekends. It was amazing. It was crazy. It was just a really enjoyable time for me. And then we kind of got towards the late 2024, and all these gigs started coming in for 2025, and we were kind of gearing up for what was set to be quite a decent year, to be fair. You know, it was looking quite good. And then we got to December, and things just started going horribly wrong for me. I don't really necessarily know why, but we had a gig in Bolton, and I never got the chance to play. I travelled all the way, and they shut the club early. The attendance was really low. There was like a really bad weather that was like impacting the railway, so we're having like railway strikes. And then there was a gig over Christmas that was actually a really good gig, but there was a bit of stress, which some of the stress was my fault. Not going to go too much into it, but there was a little bit of a battle just in regards to payment and stuff. But some of it was my fault. And then we came into 2025, and I had bookings that were gearing up, and it was looking to be quite a. It wasn't a massively busy start to the year, but it was a nice little start to the year. And then suddenly, all these bookings, just for some reason, they either moved the date, or the event got cancelled, or there was something ended up happening, and whatever happened, like there was some events and the date got moved, and it just moved to a date that I then couldn't do. And then there was just events that got cancelled, and you know, dates that I was originally booked at were no longer happening. So I then had a free date. We then had some family stuff, family deaths, stuff outside of music, and all the bookings kind of dried up, and they went a little bit sour. And I was a little bit like, you know, what's kind of next in that sense. And then we got to like the summer of 2025. We got to sort of this time last year, and they started coming in, and we had quite a really busy sort of sort of late July, sort of August, September, October, sort of right into November, sort of up towards Christmas was really quite cool. Some really cool gigs. Did a really cool Mad Friday gig. We did the Clubland Classics, blah blah blah. And then we came into 2026, and there was just no bookings on the horizon. And then I sort of started going down the mobile DJing route a little bit more. And over the years, although like I've very predominantly like done raves and gone to like events and played a set at an event. Over the years, I have dabbled into a little bit of mobile DJing, doing the odd birthday party, doing a couple of I did a wedding, I did a hen party. I think I did a surprise birthday party. And I've done a few different little mobile bookings, as you do, but I'd never really dabbled into it properly. I'd just kind of dipped my toes in it. A couple of years ago, I would have probably told you it wasn't really my thing. I was a little bit, I think more than it wasn't my thing, I think it was more the fact that I probably wasn't prepared for it, as opposed to like, you know, how I am now, if that makes sense. So anyway, cutting the long story short, this year I took a residency at the Buck in Driffield, which has it's been a lifesaver. I'm not gonna lie. It's been I was at a point where I really didn't know what was next. I really was a little bit unsure as to what was next. And basically, just as opposed to what was next, like I was really unsure. And then I got this opportunity to do like, you know, regular weekends at the Buck. And I'm not Scottish, no. So I started doing these regular weekends at the Buck, and I feel now, like just lately, I've started to really find my feet with it, and I've really started to enjoy like the mobile DJ side of things. Now, for people who don't know what the difference between like a club DJ or we'll strip it down, an events DJ, a club DJ, and a mobile DJ. So an events DJ is like somebody who you would just like book to come and play at your event. You know, they turn up, they play their hours set, and that's it. You know, and they'd move on to the next event. A club DJ is somebody who will play in like a nightclub, but they'll be like a resident. So you have like nightclubs that they're not necessarily like a big club for putting events on, and they're like an event that would just they're a club essentially that would just open every weekend. They'd have a resident DJ on that would just play in the club till the early hours, and they'd do a bit of everything from R&B into kind of like house and dance in the early hours, and they don't stay open till maybe like 3-4 o'clock. Sometimes some are depending sort of what the vibe of the club was. Some clubs stay open later, some clubs stay open till 6, that kind of thing. And then a mobile DJ is I suppose somebody who can range from like your typical pub DJ, karaoke DJ, to somebody who will like come and do your birthday party, come and do your wedding. So this year I've dabbled more into the mobile kind of DJing, going and kind of like doing the pub gigs where you're not going and banging out your rave sets all the time. Granted you can sneak in some rave tunes, and granted you can plug the decks in sometimes and have a little bit of a jam. However, you are more prompted to do things like karaoke, and you are more prompted to be versatile and play songs that you wouldn't, go and play in your rave set. 70s, 80s, 90s, noughties, R&B, bits of reggae, bits of rock, bits of pop. You're playing a little bit of everything. I wanted to do this stream to kind of tell you a little bit about why I've kind of been enjoying the mobile DJing more than I thought I would, and how I think like I'm transitioning from playing on like getting booked for people's events basically to kind of doing like my own thing. And I guess what I mean by that is like people who are putting a rave on, like I aren't necessarily like getting booked by them anymore, and I don't necessarily go to a rave and play an hour's set. However, if a nightclub owner gets in touch and they're doing something themselves at the club, and they've got somebody coming down and they want me to be a part of that as well, that I class that as a little bit of a different thing. And there is a booking coming up, which I'm looking forward to actually announcing. It is a little bit more like a rave again. However, it's not like some guy's putting a rave on and he's booking a whole lineup of DJs and and there's a full night, and and there's MCs on it, and it is literally like there is a club. They've got like a headline DJ. They basically, I'm warming up for the headline DJ, and then I'm potentially going back on after the headline DJ's been on. It's just, it's nothing, not a full night with different MCs and DJs going off. It's just literally, we've got this like big DJ coming down, and then there's just a guy who's going to warm up for him and, kind of control the night between him, before and after him being on, basically, which is a little bit different, and I'm quite looking forward to that, and I'm very much interested and excited about doing them kind of things. But going back to like the pub gigs, I've really enjoyed it lately. And what I've really enjoyed recently about the pub gigs is I'm starting to get known. And what I mean by that is people who come into the book are now starting to know that I'm there on the Fridays and the Saturdays, which has been like really good. So like people will come in and now they'll know, and people will come up and talk to me, and it's like I've made like friends with people that like I knew of them before, but like now I feel like I've had more of a chance to connect with them, and they come up and they ask me like if I can play certain songs, and they know now that I'm gonna be there, and they know now they can come up and ask, and I'll play it. And it's the same with like the karaoke, I suppose, and the singing. They now know that they are literally gonna, they now know that they are literally gonna, that they're literally gonna, get that song played, and have a really good time. And it's like people now expect it, and and I know a lot of the locals that go in, and I've just really kind of become a little bit of a vibe in the place, which has been really cool and exciting, and it's been really good. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why I've kind of prefer this now to playing like on an event. Now, don't get me wrong, I still like events, and I aren't saying that like I won't ever play them again, because if the right ones come along and I feel like I want to do this, then like by all means I'll do it. I'm very happy in that sense. However, there's stress that comes with an event that doesn't come with mobile DJing. And when I was kind of like fully like just on events all the time, I didn't really realize like how much of a stress it actually was. But like it really is quite stressful, and especially as a DJ, it can be like really annoying as well, because like you're battling against like a whole lineup of other people. So what would happen at an event? Like you'd get booked for an event. You'd get, all right, are you available on this day? I'm putting this event on. We'd like to book you. Blah blah blah. You discuss the fees. Okay, like I'm happy to do this, and blah 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 blah. And then you'd get added into a group chat, and you'd have all the artists apart from maybe like the headliner that would be in the group chat, and basically the promoter would be in there, or the promoters, depending like how many or who was putting the event on. Sometimes the club owner as well might even just be like put into the group chat, because they might have something that they want to say, or maybe like it's the club's equipment, and they just do put that message in of like please go careful with the decks and no drinks, which that's fair enough, that's fine. And the group chats, I understand they have to be there. I get that. It's all part of what it is. However, like there'd be like one person usually in a group chat that would like spam the group chat all the time, and like you'd be at work, and then he'd be like, I've just made a new track. Oh, I've just put a new mix up on SoundCloud. Oh, 2 weeks to go until the event. And the group chat would be absolutely like going off just at times when you don't want it to go off, and it can be quite stressful. You're trying to work, and then suddenly your phone's pinging, and then you're having to mute it because it's going off, and then you forget to unmute it, and then you miss like vital information that's actually important about the event. And then one of the biggest things, of course, is the set times. So usually the set times will get created. The promoter will sit down and he'll go through the set times, and he'll put them in the group chat. And then there's usually one person that for whatever reason is not happy with that set time, and they can't do it for whatever reason, so they ask for it to be changed, and then it gets changed, and then it creates more chaos for other people that now can't do the time, but they could do their original time that they had in the first place, and causes a whole load of stress. And you're battling with your set time. and then you think you're going to be on at one time, and then you kind of plan for that, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, so and so couldn't do 11 o'clock now, so they've been moved, blah blah blah, and you end up having a bit of a battle about set times. Me personally, to an extent, I was always happy, more or less, playing like whatever time, to be fair. Like, I was one of those people, if I was coming to an event, I was typically coming more or less for the start of the event, and I would more or less stay like more or less near the end of the event. If I was on the last set, I'd stay and play the last set. If I wasn't on the last set, I'd maybe leave like third or second to last set, depending like who I was with, what I was doing, what the schedule was. But there was always typically somebody that would moan about set times, or they'd have to like ask to get set times changed. And then there was a couple of times I moaned about a set time, and it wasn't, the thing about it is for like people who are traveling as well, sometimes the set times were not made accordingly to like somebody who like had to travel. So like, for example, like I would go and play an event, and sometimes they'd put me on last, and then like what they've got to understand is that like I've then got to travel all the way back home, right? And I've got to then like and it just sometimes created a little bit of an issue. So one time I said, look, I'm not being funny, right? But like I've got work the next day, I've got a gig the next night. Like the last set is, then to drive up, near, a couple of hours back home is, I'm not gonna get home and get my head down. Like, I'm not being funny, right? There's like local people on the lineup that actually live in the city where the event was taking place, and like they could have put them on the last set when they literally only have to like maybe get a taxi home. They live in the same city. They don't live far, they maybe live like 10 minutes away from the venue. They're not going on motorways and travelling across the UK to get home. And then they moved me to the first set. And then I was like, but then like I have to be there for the beginning, like, and I have to get there right at the start, and I've got to travel, and like, what if I run into traffic, or what if the roads are, like, and I just thought like, and the thing what annoyed me about it is I got booked by this brand a couple of times, and I got really good set times, like, the proper, set times I was happy with. I didn't play an opening set, I didn't play a closing set, and listen, I've got no issue in opening and closing sets. I think they can be quite fun sets, I like them. But sometimes when you've got to travel, and when you're not just somebody who's like locally in the town, they're a little bit awkward to do, and like trying to get there in time and getting parked, and I've done a few opening sets where like I've literally like we've been stuck in traffic on the motorway, and the layman's had to like pull up outside the club and bail me out so I can go in and plug my USB stick in, while he then goes and finds somewhere to park, because we've been like literally delayed. So with this brand, they gave me like 3 times, they gave me a really good set time. And then they said, look, we want to make you a resident for our brand. And at the time I thought, this is cool. And they said, like, look, we'll book you like three or 4 times a year. And I thought, that wicked, that's a guaranteed booking, like 4 times a year. And I saw it at the time as quite a good thing. And then as soon as I became that resident, it was just almost like, yeah, you're a resident for us, but it's like the value of like how we worship you has dropped. And literally, I just started getting like, basically like everybody else mattered. And then like whatever was left, oh yeah, Noble will do it, oh, Noble will just jump on that first set. Oh, Noble will do the last set, do you know what I mean? Yeah, oh, resident, no. And I felt a little bit like, I wasn't valued, I wasn't worshipped enough for, like, you know, like, yeah, fair enough, I understand I'm a resident, and look, I'm not expecting to play the midnight set when it's a headliner slot, you know, like, of course not, but all I was saying, like, is sometimes that I could have been put on, like, the third set, or I could have been put on, like, you know, before or just after the headliner sometimes, or just at a set time that just wasn't, like, first and last all the time. I don't mind doing it a couple of times, but then it's like, you know, God, you know, when I've got to travel, change it up. So with events, there was a lot of times over the years where I was battling with set times, and it was really quite a stressful thing. And then I was often like, well, look, where am I going to stay? What's, you know, like, how am I going to get here? What's my travel situation going to be like? You know, what is going on, essentially, you know. Whereas with the mobile DJing, all of that stress is wiped because it's you, and it is you only. You know, you aren't worried about the next guy who's coming on, or you aren't worried about, you know, the guy before you that was on, or somebody, oh, I can't do this time. You're there, you're doing that same time. Like with the pub, like I'm 8 p.m. till 2 a.m. every night on a Friday and a Saturday, and I know that that's what I'm doing. I know the system, I know the sound system, I know what I'm doing, everything's just the same. I'm not having to turn up somewhere and then, oh, there's not a monitor speaker, or having to turn up somewhere and the USB stick won't read the decks. Like it, like I just literally, like, it's my own stuff. I know what I'm doing, and I've just got that, like, I've got that consistency of, like, I go there and I know what to expect, and there isn't that stress. There isn't that stress. There isn't that worry. You're not, like I say, being told, you know, 1 minute you're going to play at 10 o'clock, and then the next minute it's, oh, can you play at 9 o'clock now? When, like, you planned your travel around, like, you know, arriving to ready to play at 10 o'clock. And yeah, it just, you know, with the mobile DJing, don't get me wrong, a lot of stress does come with the mobile DJing, but, like, there's just stress with the event DJing that you don't get with the mobile DJing, because when you're playing consistently at the same place, like week in, week out, you kind of have that, like, where you know, it's like your home. You know, you adapt and you make it your home. So, like, that little booth is like my second home. So I know what it's like in there. I feel comfy in there. I can set everything up in there confidently. Like, I can set up in less than 5 minutes, you know, and I'm ready to go. And I know what to expect. I know what I'm getting. But at the same time, I can be very, very versatile as well, from, like, what I decide to play, and what I don't decide to play, and what I want to play and what I don't want to play, and playing what people want to hear. And, you know, you're not just playing your hour set and then you know, that's it. You are literally, like, you've got the whole night. There's room to make mistakes. There's room to be a little bit, you know, like, ooh, let's be a bit daring and try this. And there's quite a lot of fun that goes with it that you don't get when you're doing it. You know, you go to an event, you're playing a Pacific event brand that's usually for, like, a Pacific genre of music. So you go and you play that hour set, and then you're done, or 45-minute set. Whereas with these nights, I can go across all different types of music. I can have a bit of fun, I can chill out. And another good thing as well that I've really liked about the mobile DJing, and this isn't necessarily, everybody can have a different story with this, but I currently mobile DJ in the town where my granddad lives. And for the past God knows how many months, I have been visiting my granddad every single weekend, and we've spent the weekend together. And do you know what? You know, like, at first, like, because at first, before I even started doing, like, the regular DJing at the book, like, you know, my sort of, like, rave bookings had dried up a little bit. I was going through to see him, spend time with him, because I had them free weekends. And at the time, I was thinking, like, of course I enjoyed going to see him, but I was thinking, like, I do want to get bookings again. I do want to get back DJing again, you know, because that obviously, I love DJing. But now looking back, I don't even know if I'd change it for the world, because every weekend I'm spending time with my granddad. And you know, my granddad has become like my best friend. Like, I've always had a good, strong relationship with my granddad, as you do. You know, and I've always, you know, we've always gotten on. But it's like lately we have like bonded so much more, and we have fun weekends. We tell jokes to each other, you know, and even sometimes we're just telling the same jokes that we've told for years, but we have a understanding, we have a laugh, we get on with each other. You know, I put YouTube on the telly, and I find like interesting videos and different things that he wouldn't be able to watch because he doesn't know how to work the internet. So like, I change things up for him. Instead of like watching normal BBC and ITV, I find like old documentaries about the Isle of Man. I find like old videos of like, you know, the old TTs and the Manx Grand Prix, and you know, my granddad likes to watch documentaries about like docks and ships and boats and planes, and I'll find stuff on YouTube that you don't necessarily see on TV, or people that are like restoring a boat or restoring a house, and just you know, some real interesting stuff. And then we go out for food, or we get takeaways, and you know, we go to the kebab shop or the fish and chip shop, and we get food and we have a laugh and we enjoy ourselves, and we go out to Weatherspoons and we have that little bonding time over the weekend. And it's become an absolutely amazing thing that I'm so proud that I get to do that. And honestly, like, I will say this, like, cherish your loved ones, because when they're gone, by God, like, you know, you wish they were there. You know, you wish they were here. You really do. And I got really busy with the events before my nan sadly passed away, and you know, and before my dad sadly passed away. And although I loved all of them raves that I played, like, there was, along with working during the week, there was countless weekends where I didn't go through to visit them, because I just genuinely, like, on Friday I'd be in Doncaster, and then Saturday I'd be in Skegness, you know, and then by Sunday I'd be absolutely wiped out, thinking I've got work on Monday and I need to kind of like rest from these events. Do you know what I mean? But that was time I didn't get to go and see them loved ones, and now them loved ones are gone. And it is honestly like, you know, and you realise, like, you know, and the same with my dad. Just got really busy with life, and I didn't go and see him half as much as I used to do. And then, you know, you realise when they're gone. So now I get that every weekend, and I still get the chance to DJ as well. It's become an amazing thing. But that is, you know, it's a different story with everybody. You know, that is, you know, mobile DJ. I guess the point I'm trying to say is that I've found a love in mobile DJing, and that is the whole point of this stream. You know, I found a love in mobile DJing instead of like events DJing. Although I still like the events DJing, I like the simplicity that mobile DJing has given me, and the freedom it's given me. That I get that chance to have that family time and still DJ, and it's local, and I'm not on the road all the time. Although I went to some amazing events, I hit some amazing cities. You know, I travelled parts of the UK I never would have travelled, and you know, I went up to Scotland and DJed. It was, you know, and I very much would still love to do that as well. But I'd love to find that balance where, you know, listen, look, I can you know, do that, and then still sort of have that, you know, I can still visit the family members, you know. But there we go. You look like you've lived outside in a hole in the ground. Goodbye. We'll keep that comment hid. Thank you. Another moderator just handled it. Wicked. Cool. So yeah. So mobile DJing versus like event stroke club DJing. So what is the verdict? So the verdict is, truthfully, I like them both. I love going to a nightclub and playing a rave. I always have done. I always will. However, I have found a love for doing the more mobile commercial nights, and I found love for even love for genres and different songs and music that I would have never have probably been interested in before. You know, that has been a really, really cool thing. So what's in store for the future then? So obviously I still take bookings for events. Obviously, I played one a couple of weeks ago. It was just on one Friday. It was local. And then I did my residency on the Saturday. I do have a gig coming up on the 24th of July. There's a new pub opening, and I'm doing a normal commercial mobile DJ style night in that pub to launch them. And I'm going to see what the vibe is like, and if the opening night goes well, then I may be ditching my Fridays at the Book, and maybe doing some more Fridays at this pub in Hull, but we'll see. And then still obviously doing my Saturdays at the Book. That is obviously still a thing. But I'm going to do this open night and see how it goes and see what the vibe is. Take from there, essentially, and then see what happens. On the 1st of August, I have this event coming up where there's a headliner, and I'm warming up for the headliner. I can't tell you too much about it because it's not really announced yet, although the headliner has announced it on his socials, but not announced it as such, but he has. But you wouldn't really know unless you really looked between the lines. So the headliner put a big thing up with loads of dates where they're booked at gigs, and just dotted in there it is in the list that he's coming to the headliner's coming to Hull, and they are doing this thing. But I've been told not to share anything at the moment, not to say anything at the moment. As I would imagine, within the coming days, there will be some form of proper announcement for it. However, I'm excited for it, and seeing that on the headliners diary that it's in there that they are coming to this town, made it even more exciting. But there we go. Anyway, I'm gonna cut this stream. It's getting late. Make sure to comment, share. The World Cup has just started. The England match has just, they just kicked off. Yeah, I couldn't really give a crap, if I'm truthfully honest. I don't care. A lot of people do. That's up to them. I'm a big believer in being happy for people to like what they like, but I might not like it myself. And I wish that people would be the same, but not everybody's the same. So people might not like something, and they'll verbally go out of their way to literally prove their point that they don't like it, and also they'll almost in a way discriminate their friends for liking that as well, which really, really annoys me. I know, I've got friends now that I know will be sat in a pub watching the World Cup. That is something that I know, right? I don't want to sit there and watch it myself. I'm not interested. I don't really care. But but I'm happy that there's something on that they like, and they're in the pub right now watching the game, having an absolutely fantastic time of it. And it's the same, there's people I know that will not be into motorbike racing, You know, they'll see me like share something on Facebook about the Isle of Man, and they won't be a bit interested in it. They won't care. They'll just scroll past and they won't like it. You know, and that is completely fair enough. You know, not everybody it has to like the same thing. I just thought like football. I'm happy that there's people out there that like it, but I just truthfully tell you, I think it's just a puff sport. I think like, you know, real sport is like the Isle of Man. I think motorsport, people that, you know, and what does annoy me about the football is you've got like Isle of Man riders, right? They'll come off at like 150 mile an hour, and they'll get taken to hospital with broken bones, and they're asking when they can get on the bike. You know, they want to get back on the bike. There was a guy who came off in a MotoGP race and jumped over a barrier, ran into the pits, jumped on another bike and went back out and began racing again. And then you've got a footballer who will like fall on the ground and graze a knee on a bit of grass, you know, hardly really falling, and they'll cry out in pain and, oh, I can't do the match anymore. And then you've got these bike riders that literally, they've got broken bones, and then they're literally like, when can I get back on the bike? You know, when do you think I'll be fit enough to race again? You know, there was a guy that rolled down a mountain and, you know, literally battered his whole body to the point like you'd think this guy had never come back to racing again. He just wanted to know when he could get on the bike, and he built himself back up to race again. There's a woman who had an accident this year, and she's been like diagnosed paralysed from the waist down. She is determined that she's going to get back better. She's determined that she is literally going to get to some sort of state of like better than she currently is. And there was a guy who there was a movie about a guy who he had an accident in the war, and he was told that he'd never go on a bike again, and he built himself up and he went on a bike again. Footballers, they have a tiny little graze and they're literally spitting their dummy out. Literally. And there was a TT rider that came off. Robert Dunlop had an accident, a very bad accident, and was actually told that he would never go on a bike again. And he did go on a bike again, and he had a bike like customised so he could actually still ride. And he had like I think he had like the brakes or like the gear levers swapped around, so like it could work, like because I think like he couldn't do the gears with where they decide it would normally be, but he could do it with the other foot. So like he had the bike adjusted, and he had like the handlebars, you know, and the brake levers swapped around, so the clutch was at the other side, and so he was able to race it, and he continued to race for a good amount of time, which is absolutely mind-blowing, you know. But anyway, we're babbling on. Make sure to like, comment, share. Peace.